I don't know how I feel about these Marlins. They dropped the series in Chicago. They are one game under 500. They have avoided the sweep, almost being swept in back to back games. They were unlucky to lose one of the games, and they are 11-0 in one-run games. It's the luckiest team, potentially, of all time. They've tied a record to open the season in one-run game wins, 11-0. Is this the luckiest team? But they are also below 500 and a run diff that is disgraceful. Who are the 2023 Marlins and what hope is there? There's tons of it. I'm going to dig into all of that on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome, of course, to Locked On Marlins. And happy Monday, guys. Hope everyone is doing well. I, of course, am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up on Twitter at MiamiMarlins_UK. If you are listening to the pod, hit subscribe, leave a review. Much appreciated. Spotify reviews. And Fuego, thank you. Appreciate it. There is a YouTube channel. Head over to there. Hit subscribe also. We are trending on subscribers and they are greatly appreciated. YouTube, what does it bring? It brings the visual version. You'll see Monday, no Sean Barrett. Bank holiday Monday here in the UK. The US listeners, I don't think will know what that means. What does bank holiday mean? It's a public holiday, effectively. So there's the translation for you. I only know that because someone messaged me over the weekend and said, Pete, what the hell is a bank holiday? It's a public holiday. And it's a public holiday here in the UK today. Sean Barrett, unfortunately, is working. So I have to fly solo on this one. Nevertheless, it's the Monday episode. The Marlins have just avoided a sweep somehow against the Cubs. And of course, this is your team every day. Tons queued up this week as well. Takes Were Made is on this week, no doubt about it. Danny Rodriguez on the show, Sean Barrett as well. We've got tons coming at you all week. I'm delighted. I'm really excited for the first conversation of the regular season in 2023 with Kenny. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's always spicy, those episodes, no doubt about it. So make sure you hit subscribe and be ready for them. But guys, how did the weekend go? Firstly, it was UK friendly, right? I mean, every start time at 7:20 p.m. UK time. So what are we? What, 2:40? 2:20? Sorry, 2:20 was the Eastern time. Everyone was just getting these games in early. Great to see. I love playing the Cubs. I love being on the road in Chicago because we normally do get a good cluster of day games, particularly if you have that Friday one sprinkled in there. So that was great to see. Overall, as a series, my main takeaways were, and the Marlins could have won the series. They could have been swept. There was tons of things that could have gone well and could have gone poorly. My main takeaway, though, was related to Skip Schumaker, actually. And it's primarily linked to his post-game presser after the second game. He was also great after game one on Friday, which, it was just one of them games. Like, it kind of rolled along quickly, and I don't know. It was just one of them games where the Marlins just never quite got into it. Obviously, like a tough lefty going. Whenever there's a tough lefty going, it obviously takes some of the juice out of it with Jazz sliding down the lineup, with Arias, obviously. Like, the Marlins' best hitters are lefties. And so when there's a lefty going, it's going to be an uphill task and he needs some guys to step up. But it was that game two, Skip Schumaker after the game. And just to remind you guys, I don't want to take you back to, a hall of ghosts here or anything, but game two in the series, the Marlins were leading the game. It was a bullpen game with Brian Hoeing, putting in some innings of work in the middle innings. It was executed perfectly. Matt Barnes started the game, opened the game. Andrew Nardi then came in as well, then handed over to Brian Hoeing. The Marlins just trying their best, piecing the pitch in together as best they can, trying to keep in a close game to bring your leverage guys in. It's exactly what they did. They were leading the game. They had the opportunity here. Then, oh boy, things went sideways in that one. A couple of errors there. Puck threw it over to Gurriel at first base. Gurriel just thought, I don't fancy that one. It was in the running lane. Let it go by. Then Peyton Burdick, who was a pinch runner in the inning before, hence why he was there in right field. Peyton Burdick kind of rushing in on a ball. I think it had an expected batting average of like .090 or something. Like, it should have been out. Peyton Burdick just, he got tangled up with the sun, right? Lost it in the sun. Ball drops. And there's mayhem ensuing. The Marlins somehow find a way to lose that game on Saturday, 4-2, a 3-run inning in the 8th. However, going back to it, Skip Schumaker. Why am I pumping Skip in a loss? It's just wildly different to how Don Mattingly has been the past multiple years, where it would be, the post-game stuff in the main would be just steady levels. No overreactions, good or bad. No players getting mentioned, no nothing. Skip Schumaker, he's out there just firing shots. Not afraid to fire him. Skip is all about the fundamentals. Doing the fundamentals correctly. That's the start of his club. And when things aren't being done correctly, the fundamentals, you can see that really irks him. Really does. So, for me, the main standout was the fact that Kelly Sacco was asking the questions. And Kelly was kind of giving Peyton Burdick a pass. Hey, you can't control the sun, I think was the phrase, right? Oh, that Peyton Burdick ball, yeah, you can't control the sun was what it was. Skip Schumaker just kind of came alive with that question and said, you can control the sun. I absolutely love that. Skip will just fire it as needs to be fired. Skip was like, listen, we practiced that. The sun is always there. We know where the sun is, and it's about the fundamentals and getting it right and making that play. We practice that. We practice, this is on the broadcast too, and we practice the fact that we crank the volume up to, mimic sound and crowd noise. So it's tough to hear in the outfield. We practice that. So we try to avoid those collisions in the outfield. We saw Brian De La Cruz and Jazz Chisholm, get together. Jazz came up with a ball, which was great, but it was, again, this is Skip Schumaker. He's covering all the fundamental bases and looking for the guys to execute. And where they don't, he's calling them out. Skip's got no problem calling these guys out. And, I know it's probably tough for Burdick, right? He's kind of called up, not really getting tons of ABs. He was dropped in as a pinch runner. Next thing is a big fly ball in the sun in a massive spot in the game. And he botches it. He botched it. Lost it in the sun. Was what it was. Skip out there just firing shots, no doubt about it. Wanted to go back to yesterday's game then as well, the Sunday game. Sandy Alcantara with his second best performance of the season. Obviously, he went a full 9. And it didn't look like Sandy was going to get 9. Like, he was, as it's been most of the year, he struggled to put some guys away on that kind of, with 2 strikes. Like, that's been Sandy's nemesis this year, which has been interesting. And, with that, the pitch count just keeps rising. And that was the beauty last year of Sandy. Like, the pitch count just never took charge. This year, with those struggles with 2 strikes, the pitch count is kind of ticking up there. However, anyway, yesterday he flipped the script, went into turbocharge in the 7th and the 8th inning. All of a sudden, real quick innings, bang, bang. It's like, okay, Sandy's got an opportunity here to come out. He's in the high 90s of his pitch count, but what does Skip Schumaker do? And on deck at that point, Dansby Swanson, a righty. You then have Ian Happ and Cody Bellinger. You've got those 3 guys that you have to get out for certain. They had Trey Mancini after that as well. So that's what was in front of them. Interesting thing was Sandy took the ball, but AJ Puck was warming up too. So Skip kind of had in his mind, like, I think Skip was in 2 minds about this in general, where like AJ Puck has been nails. He's been nails in save situations. And you go back to last year, Sandy was, going complete games. He was going complete games because the Marlins effectively had no closer. 0 closer. And 0 confidence in the back end in the leverage pen. Tanner Scott was getting every save. And we saw what Tanner Scott's like. We still see it now. Like, it can be a little bit up and down, let's say. And Sandy was given that opportunity mainly because there was no one better than him with the ball. It's fair to say right now, there's a couple of guys in that bullpen that have been as good or better than Sandy this year. And I don't think it is the case that Sandy is the only option in the 9th. I get it that it's part of Sandy's makeup. It's what he desires. He wants to go the full 9. He wants to do it, no doubt. However, the Marlins right now are in the mix. They're in the mix, and they're hanging in there at the moment. Like, it's been a bit of a rough couple of series. Like the Bravos, as they do, they give you a lesson. But Sandy's looking to bounce back. It's been a tough start of the year. I get it. Skip wants to give Sandy the opportunity. However, I must say, yesterday, I think Sandy was given at least one or two hitters too many. You knew you had the lefties up. You knew you had Puck in the pen. And it's almost like as soon as you get the Ian Happ hit, for me, almost that was the pull the plug moment on Sandy at that point. It's like, Sandy, listen, you've got three guys. Any hits, you're out of there. Ian Happ got the hit. Next thing is Bellinger, then a lefty as well, gets the hit. Boom. And then Hosmer comes up and gets it done too. Skip spoke about it after the game. Said, listen, we fancied Hosmer there. We think we could roll a grounder into a double play. Typical Sandy. We thought we could get the ground ball there at that point. They did get it. It went through, and Skip called it out. That's baseball. I have to say, I was surprised the Puck wasn't up and in once Cody Bellinger came up to bat. To be honest with you, I'm not questioning Skip. I'm just putting out there what I would have done, and I would have gone with Puck a touch earlier, particularly with these lefties. In the end, the Marlins won the game, and so coulda, woulda, shouldas. And listen, I would have loved Sandy to have gone a complete game and done his thing. Wasn't to be, but boy, oh boy, those extra innings were wild as well, right? There was back and forth. Both teams scored in the 10th. Both teams scored in the 13th. The Marlins get it done in the 14th. It was wild. Wild extra innings, but the Marlins finally get it done. Andrew Nardi, I think, with his first career save as well. So that's kind of sprinkled in there. But overall, my main takeaway is Skip Schumaker is a wonderful manager. It's been a glorious hire. You only have to look at the Cardinals, what's happening there in that clubhouse this year. Things are going poorly with the Cardinals. What are they doing? What are they doing with Contreras right now? Managers out there talking about, hey, he's going to be out of catching and he's going to be in the outfield. Next thing is, I don't know, president of baseball ops in there. Hey, he's not playing in the outfield. It's a nonsense. For once, the Cardinals are absolutely blowing it up. Like, I don't know what's happening in St. Louis, but is there a connection? Skip Schumaker leaves, gets out of town, brings all the stardust over to Miami. Who knows? We'll wait and see. We'll see the Cardinals in London pretty soon. It's time for our first ad of the day. It's our actual only live ad of the day. It's our good friends over at eBay Motors, which also means we need some sexy graphics too. So let's get those queued up. And it's the teal. I love the teal. eBay Motors. Love to see it. But for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to just fit right on. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right. The first time around, just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop on eBay Motors, and with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride, Mike B style. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. Okay. Love those eBay Motors. So that was my main takeaway from the series. There are a few other takeaways, I must say, and a few other news and notes to bring up right now. I'm going to really dig into some of the other bigger themes with the guests as we get into this week, because there's definitely a few themes emerging. However, the Marlins go to 11-0 in one-run games. What a feat. And it's down to the pen. I know we had a couple of sketchy moments over this weekend with, effectively Puck having those issues with those errors in game 2 on Saturday. Sandy obviously having his issues yesterday, but the pen overall yesterday, like, it really did its thing. It did its thing as well on Saturday. Bullpen game. Like, the Marlins are getting so much value out of this bullpen right now. And to be honest with you, Brazovan is the best reliever that pretty much anyone that is listening to this pod that isn't a Marlins fan. Hold on. Everyone listening to this pod's a Marlins fan, right? Brazovan is the best reliever out there that no one else has heard of apart from Marlins fans. He's absolutely glorious this year. He's amazing, Brazaban. But overall, this pen as a group, it's been great. Really has. The Marlins really need to find a way, though, to give these guys a touch of a breather, right? Because they are having to do so much work. You've got bullpen games happening. You've got short starts happening. You've got Johnny Cueto struggling again in AAA, both with in terms of what the results are, plus the health as well. On deck, you've got a Diamondbacks team that's 4 games over 500. They had been leading the West. They have been overtaken in that. But you've got Zach Gallen on deck this evening. Zach Gallen, one of the best pitchers in the league right now. Braxton Garrett looking to bounce back, obviously, from a very tough start against the Bravos. Jesus Luzardo then looking to bounce back from a couple of sticky starts for him. And then you've got Edward Cabrera as well. And, let's be totally honest, there's a pathway here where each of those 3 guys struggle to go beyond 5 innings. There's definitely a pathway to that. We've seen it, particularly in recent times. I mean, with Eddie Cabrera, it's been a lot of walks. Braxton Garrett recently blown up. Jesus Luzardo, not quite as sharp recently. I have the most confidence in Jesus Luzardo going deep, but overall, it continues. We need to start getting some length out of these starters. Skip Schumaker's talking about it again. That's why I love Skip. Skip's on it. It's like we need to be throwing that first pitch for a strike. First pitch strikes, baby. Get him in there. This isn't news to you. We've been telling it to you for months and years, potentially. Months specifically with Skip, but for Mel, maybe years. We're looking to amp up the pressure, get the pitch counts down. Don't be pitching around the guys and et cetera, because we need you to go deep. Really interested to see whether we see any obvious adjustments. Feel like with Sandy yesterday, we started to see, Sandy returning. Let's hope some of the other guys do. For me, Edward Cabrera has been the one. He's kind of typified, I would say, the Marlins rotation thus far this year, where too many walks, tons of stuff, tons of strikeouts, too many walks, not deep enough into games, asking the pen to do tons. You had a bullpen game on Saturday. You ended up with 14 innings worth, even with Sandy going 8.1. You ended up with a ton of innings from the pen. No off day, travel day over to the West Coast. Boy, oh boy, this Monday game, Braxton Garrett needs to deliver something sizable, 6+, because if it goes wonky, this whole series, this whole kind of trip could go wonky rapidly because, listen, they're really struggling out there with long guys and reliever innings right now. I mean, anything happens to Braxton in the early going here, it's Chichi Gonzalez season, guys, and I'm not convinced that Chichi is the right guy for that role. We'll wait to see on it. And the thing is, the Marlins are in the hunt. The Marlins are absolutely in the hunt right now. They're 1 game under 500. They are 1 game back in the wild card hunt. I know it's a touch too early to be looking at the standings and et cetera, but, overall, everyone's beating everyone. Everyone's having their kind of slow moments. Everyone's having some hot streaks. It's just kind of baseball, right? As we know with the Marlins, you just got to hang around 500 as best they can, and look to try and add. And that's another thing too. Like, they need to add. It's clear that there's a need to add to this roster as people are dinged. I think Craig used the term paper thin on Twitter earlier, and I think that describes it pretty well. Like, the roster depth again is paper thin. I think that really is true. Like, the starting 11, so to speak, using soccer terminology, is strong-ish. Not quite as strong as some of the other guys in the NL East, but it's a competitive lineup. A couple of guys out there, Coop out of there, Avi out of there. Joey Wendle's been out of there. Like, it starts to get thin quick, right? And you're really leaning heavily into, your Garrett Hampsons, your Peyton Burdicks, etc., which is not optimal. And from a starting perspective, equally, we've seen the same. Tons being asked to Brian Hoeing right now. And he's stood up well, actually. Brian Hoeing, for me, being a real nice spot. Braxton Garrett, prior to that Brave series, a real nice spot. It's actually been the traditional guys that have struggled. And yeah, talking about Johnny Cueto, boy, oh boy, it's not been impressive there with Cueto at all, right? Not only blown up in AAA, but also then leaving the game with some sort of ankle sprain. That potentially is going to set him back again. Who knows? Oh boy, it's concerning here with Cueto. Only 1 inning thus far into his Marlins career. It's going to be interesting to see how many innings he ends up throwing in total. in his Marlins career. Thus far, the over-under on 100, you'd be absolutely slamming the under on that one. Probably slamming the under on the 80. I don't know. Not good. Big test, though, for the Fish. Big test against the Diamondbacks. We've already played them. There was a blown sweep. Yes, you got Gallen going in this one, and I do think this Monday game is going to be a real big test. But some guys have worked their way back. Joey Wendle made his return yesterday, and what a return. Blasting a triple in extra innings, coming in with a big knock, getting the runner in, but also getting a triple as well. The Marlins couldn't end up driving him in, unfortunately, which was disappointing. But Joey Wendle back. Xavier Edwards was optioned, which felt like the natural move anyway. I know Xavier was promoted before Peyton Burdick, but the Marlins definitely need some help out there in the outfield too with Avi. So, good to see Wendle back. I'm really intrigued to see the way they roll it here with Wendle, to be honest with you. I'm really intrigued because I think it connects into Mean Gene Segura. Mean Gene, I saw Eli put a pod out there earlier. I haven't listened to it in full. I'm looking forward to that. So go and check it out from Eli and the guys over at Fish Stripes. Eli's had a deep dive on Mean Gene. And boy, oh boy, Mean Gene at third has been just so disappointing with the stick. Like right now, he's been the worst player in the league. He's been the worst player in the league. The Marlins free agent curse strikes again. It's getting to the point here now where as we go into an offseason, the Marlins should be actively not looking to target anyone in free agency because whatever they're doing right now and when they're finally getting deals done, they're all turning to poo. Frankly, I mean, I was still okay with the Jorge Soler deal. But I think, you look at like your Avisel Garcia deal, clearly, you Mean Gene, your Johnny Cueto, there's some deals there that the Marlins have paid some money and they've been burned. And, you have to ask the question about whether, if no one else is going for these guys, then, are they the right guys that should be going for? But the Marlins continue to be burned there. But going back to the point, I'm going off on a tangent. The episode's almost finished as well, guys, just a heads up on that. But I'm really intrigued to see the way the playing time plays out. As we know, Joey Wendle was starting at shortstop every day. John Berti yesterday was excellent at shortstop, in my opinion. There was one issue where the throw in extras where Berti was a cutoff guy. He ended up gunning it to home plate, and a guy got onto second base because of that. Overall, though, yesterday, Berti was put under a lot of pressure, particularly in extras, with some fast guys getting out of the box quick. Berti was excellent at shortstop. He's excellent. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with Wendle. Does Mean Gene start to lose some playing time? Maybe. No lineup for me thus far. It's just past 9 p.m. UK time here. So what's that? 4 p.m. Eastern. No lineup yet. Late game, obviously. West Coast time. So we'll wait to see how it all plays out here. But yeah, I think we're going to call it a day there, guys. Overall, for me, my summation here, Skip Schumaker really starting to show the type of guy he is and what he demands from his players. And he isn't demanding hot dog and he's not demanding exuberance. He's demanding the fundamentals to be done and executed as he would expect. And as a player, as a clubhouse, as a team, it's easy to buy into that. And it's easy to hold yourself and everyone else accountable. Do the fundamentals correctly. I love that from Skip. He does not hide. He does not shirk. He's happy to get into it when needed. And he's been doing it plenty over the weekend. Great to see Sandy Alcantara back. We need more of that from the rotation. We need more length. More length. This series all hinges on Braxton Garrett. It really does. The bullpen's gassed as it is. Braxy Garrett needs to go long in game one. Really long. Without that, it's going to be a white flag game. It is. If Braxy gets into trouble and exits early, it's going to be Chi-Chi time, and I don't think I want to see that, to be honest with you. It's against Zach Gallen, so it probably is the right type of game to throw the white flag if it starts to get a bit sticky early. However, the Marlins are in the hunt. They are in the hunt. 11-0 in one-run games, though. They're potentially an extremely lucky team right now. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're one game under 500, potentially the luckiest team of all time. The rotation is hopefully starting to turn back. Sandy's starting to turn back. What are we going to see from the other guys? And what are we going to see later in the week? We're going to see Uri Perez. Is it time for Uri Perez? Do the Marlins need Uri Perez? I think they do. Going to dig into that probably on tomorrow's show, if not on Wednesday's show, as we get into it and we get nearer to Friday. Friday is potentially the day. Friday could be Uri Perez debut day for the Marlins. Potentially, if all things line up. I don't know. Craig Mish talking about that should be his last start at AA Pensacola. Do the Marlins go, hey, well, it's time to get up to Jacksonville, get some AAA innings? So the Marlins say, let's skip AAA. Too many shortstops playing there anyway. Let's skip AAA. Let's just get into the bigs. Let's see what you've got, big boy. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. I am hoping that the Marlins are back to 500 by the time we wake up in the morning, or I wake up in the morning anyway. And I'll be back with Kenny Takes Were Made on tomorrow's episode. I'll see you then.